And I have to kind of know you. You know what I mean? It's not like I just call people up. Yeah, I don't just call people up and be like, "Hey, can I interview you?" Because I really don't care about
those
that.
long awkward pauses.
And like, it's just about having somebody that you like to hang with, that you know, that you think is really cool, and that's why I asked you to do it.
Well, I appreciate it.
So, man, thank you very much for being here. You guys know this guy is Randy Couture, legend in the sport of MMA and wrestling, and he's also an actor. He does a lot of acting nowadays, and he's doing a bunch of TV shows and stuff. I overheard you talking. Like, what kind of TV stuff are you doing?
I've had a character on Hawaii Five-0, a recurring character, the last 2 seasons. I've done 3 episodes so far. I'm doing the 4th episode coming up the end of March. So I'm going back over to Hawaii I play a very kind of nasty guy, but there's something kind of charming about him. I don't know where that comes from, but
well, that's because you're a charming individual.
He burns people alive.
There's nothing wrong with that.
He's an arsonist.
Damn.
My girlfriend's mom's like, he's such a nice bad guy.
Well, there you go. So, see?
But the character's coming back, and I'm sure at some point they'll kill him off. They're starting to try to do some crossover from Hawaii Five-0 to the new MacGyver. So I'm hoping that they send the character over and he appears on the new MacGyver show.
That would be
as
sick.
A bad guy. So
you never know.
This guy gets some redemption and turns his life around and starts using his brain, because he's a very kind of smart bad guy. He does some pretty intricate things. So he could turn that and use that for good.
There is a show there that if you're a bad guy and you like burning people, maybe you just start burning bad people.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Now you're a hero.
Yeah.
Because you just don't think you think the law is not that good. So maybe we'll call up JT. Be like, hey man, we got a movie. Sweet, man. So you started in wrestling back in the day.
I started wrestling
when
I was 10 years old.
10?
In junior high school. I wrestled all through junior high school. Wrestled through high school. Ended up being a state champion in Washington, where I grew up in Seattle. One-time state champion my senior year. And then ended up joining the service. I was in the Army for years. Kind of thought my wrestling career was over, and lo and behold, I ended up in Germany in the 80s. There was about 1 million plus soldiers stationed in Germany. They had huge sports programs. I ended up wrestling in Germany, winning a U.S. Army Europe Championship and gaining a chance to try out for the All-Army Wrestling team. I made the team. Wrestled at the Inter-Service Championships, and that's a qualifier for the Olympic trials.
Wow.
So I ended up winning an Inter-Service Championship and qualifying for the Olympic trials in 1988. I was an alternate as a soldier. Wrestling eventually led me to MMA.
And you started MMA when?
1997 was my first fight. I took a fight on short notice.
UFC?
Yeah.
So you just went right out of the gate,
right,
UFC.
But there were no amateur shows. There were no smaller regional shows back then.
Right.
There was only 1 or 2 shows, period, in mixed martial arts. And so back then it was a little different. You literally filled out an application. Said, oh, I've done this, I've done that. Put me in your show. And obviously I submitted that application as I'm an Olympic caliber wrestler. And they were like, hey, we got enough wrestlers. Mark Coleman was the champ at the time. Don Fry was still competing. Dan Severn was still around. They were all high-level wrestlers and guys I knew. So that's why I was interested and intrigued in the sport. And they called me up about 6 months later, said, hey, we got a spot in this tournament. Guy hurt himself. He can't fight. We're having trouble. It's 3 weeks from now. Do you still want to fight? You're on the alternate list. And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to fight. I jumped in 3 weeks notice, and it went well.
And who did you fight?
I fought twice. It was a tournament format.
2 in 1 night?
Yeah.
That's so rad.
Big guy, Tony Halama.
Okay.
He's a Finnish boxer, and he's a Finnish boxer, and he'd also done some pro wrestling.
You've done pretty good against boxers, if I can't.
I've held up all right against the strikers most of the time.
Later that night,
to the final, and I fought a guy named Stephen Graham, who was a football player from one of the Carolinas, but he'd been training in martial arts for a while. And he was a huge guy too, 290 pounds. He was a big guy. So I'm like, what the hell did I get myself into?
Damn. They didn't have weight classes back then. Wow. And how much do you weigh?
I walk around about 220.
Okay, so you're 220, and you could cut down to 205 all day, every day, twice on Sunday.
They didn't have 205 back then.
Right.
That was the first show. That was UFC 13, and they started what they called the lightweight division, which was anybody 200 and under. And that was Tito's first show. He fought in the lightweight division. It's called the lightweight division back then. He was an alternate, and he ended up in the final match against Guy Metzger.
Yeah.
Guy Metzger was coached by Ken Shamrock, and that's what started the Ken-Tito Ortiz rivalry, because Tito was winning the fight, shot a kind of a bad double leg, got caught in a guillotine, and so he was really pissed, and he flipped off Metzger's corner, which happened to be Ken Shamrock.
It's not a very good look.
And that's what kind of started that whole rivalry, which wound up being 3 fights between Ken and Tito much further down the road.
Oh, okay. Man, that's such
Some
a badass story. Yeah, I love it. I love the history. And so I have a friend that fights MMA, Frank Mir.
Yeah, I know Frank.
And Frank said to me one day, we were working out, and he was like, the only guy that I really don't want to fight ever is Randy Couture. He's a monster.
He is.
Like, I look at him like he's cyborg, like he's like the guy, like a robot.
Yeah.
And I rolled around with him on the floor, and it was like a little kid playing with his dad, like just moving me wherever he wants.
Yeah, he's
like
a strong guy.
I just couldn't believe it. The amount of respect that everybody has for you in the sport is unparalleled. So that's pretty awesome. And especially with a sport like this, and now you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And like you're, I mean, legendary status, and just walk around and you come drink coffee and stuff like nothing. That's pretty awesome. So what is your favorite all-time memory? What's your best fight? What's your best night?
I think because of my age, and I didn't start fighting till I was 34. I was always the underdog.
Right.
The old guy's going to get his ass kicked. And, and I always managed to find a way to win in those situations, and winning against Vitor Belfort the first time when nobody thought I would win that fight.
Like he's a monster.
Beating Chuck Liddell the first time I fought him. Again, nobody, including the organization, thought I would win that fight. Then turn around and beat Tito. That's 20 years younger than me.
Right? That's that one?
Yeah.
That was so awesome.
And then, but I think my all-time favorite was fighting Tim Sylvia in Ohio.
Yeah?
Tim was 6'8".
Such a good visual.
F standing out there. He was so much taller than I was, and he'd been the heavyweight champ for, I think, 3 years at that time. And great crowd.
And how old were you?
I was 42 or 43. The way the whole thing went down was just a really, really good night. A ton of fun, amazing crowd.
Was the overhand right? Was that overhand right? I saw it. I remember that. Dude, I can't believe it. Like, I don't know if you know this or not, but I went in a coma one time, and I still remember that fight. How do I remember that fight? Overhand right. I remember, like, you reaching from Utah, and you got him.
I had to reach from Utah to reach that tall bugger.
So, do you have any advice for anybody who wants to get into the sport? Or
I think the most important thing is find a good team, a good environment. It's an individual sport. You walk up in that cage by yourself, but you're really only as good as the guys you train with, the guys that are pushing you, making you better on a daily basis, but at the same time taking care of you.
Yes.
We train hard. It's a tough thing. So, being with a group of guys that aren't out to prove they can beat you or are going to hurt you or tap you out, but are at the same time going to push you to the limit, challenge you every single day and make you better. And that can be a precarious, hard thing to find. So,
right.
But you need that team. You need that group of guys that have your back, make you work, challenge you daily, but at the same time take care of you.
All right. I love it, man. Well, thank you so much. You have a beautiful girl here. This is Mindy.
Miss Mindy.
No, I am not. I am.
Look at her. There she is.
I am on gym
She's
clothes.
awesome.
I am not. You don't do that to me.
So this is Hanging with LAVS. This is my friend Randy Couture and his beautiful woman, Mindy.
I promise I clean up.
She does clean up. I've seen her on the red carpet a couple times with you.
Yep.
Yeah, good job, man.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.